The moment you refused to become bitter, something in the heavens paused. Not because your pain was small, not because what they did was harmless, but because against every expectation you did not become what hurt you. There was a moment, quiet, unseen, when darkness whispered that revenge would feel powerful. That hatred would make you strong. That turning cold would protect your heart. And yet, you chose something else, something rare, something dangerous to a broken world. You chose not to become evil after what they did, and that is why your story is different. There are souls in this world who feel like strangers in their own lives, not because they are lost, but because they were never meant to blend in. If you've always felt misunderstood, targeted, isolated, or pushed aside, it may not be random. It may not be bad luck. It may be the mark of someone who carries a light others cannot explain. A chosen one is not someone who lives an easy life. In fact, it is the opposite. The chosen are tested early, betrayed early, broken early. Their childhood often feels heavier than it should. Their trust is shattered before they even understand what trust truly means. And the strange part is, the pain never seems accidental. You may have noticed patterns. People turning against you without clear reason. Friends disappearing when you needed them most. Family members misunderstanding your heart. Authority figures doubting your intentions. Doors closing right when you were ready to walk through them. It can feel like the world itself is against you. But what if it isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? Chosen ones are not created through comfort. They are forged through pressure. Just like steel becomes stronger in fire, your spirit was shaped through moments that should have destroyed you but didn't. You were hurt. But you didn't become cruel. You were betrayed. But you didn't lose your compassion. You were ignored. But you didn't lose your voice inside. And that is what stuns heaven. Because many people, when wounded deeply, choose darkness as protection. They build walls of anger. They sharpen their pain into weapons. They allow bitterness to become their identity. It feels easier that way. Safer that way, but you resisted, even when your heart felt heavy, even when loneliness wrapped around you like a shadow, even when silence was louder than comfort. You stayed human in a world that tried to harden you. That is the quiet miracle most people will never understand about you. Spiritual awakening does not begin with peace. It begins with confusion, with questions that won't stop echoing in your mind, with nights where sleep feels impossible because your thoughts feel louder than the world around you. You begin noticing things others ignore, patterns in people's behavior, energy in conversations, the hidden meaning behind words left unsaid. It feels like your senses are expanding, like your soul is remembering something ancient. And that awareness can feel isolating. You may have wondered why you never fit in easily, why crowds drain you, why shallow conversations feel exhausting, why your heart searches for depth even when the world offers distraction. That is not weakness. That is sensitivity to truth. Chosen ones often feel like outsiders because they see through illusions. They notice hypocrisy. They question systems. They sense manipulation. And in a society built on comfort and conformity, awareness can feel like rebellion. Not everyone welcomes someone who sees clearly. Sometimes society tries to silence those who refuse to pretend, not always through loud attacks, but through subtle pressure, through labels, through mockery, through isolation. They may call you dramatic when you speak truth. They may call you sensitive when you show empathy. They may call you strange when you refuse to follow the crowd. But those labels are not definitions. They are shields used by people who fear what they don't understand. You see, darkness does not fear noise. It fears awareness. And your awareness makes people uncomfortable. There were moments in your life when you felt pushed to your breaking point. Moments when giving up felt easier than continuing. Moments when you questioned your worth, your purpose, your place in this world. You may have asked yourself, why me? Why so much struggle? Why so many betrayals? Why so many tests? But hidden inside those questions was a transformation taking place. Every disappointment strengthened your discernment. Every betrayal sharpened your intuition. Every hardship awakened your resilience. You became someone who could read intentions before words were spoken. Someone who could sense danger before it arrived. Someone who learned to stand alone when support disappeared. That is not coincidence. That is evolution of the soul. And the greatest proof that you are different is not the pain you endured. It is the fact that you did not let that pain define your character. You did not become the monster they expected you to become. You did not return cruelty for cruelty. You did not let darkness rewrite your identity. Instead, you transformed. You turned wounds into wisdom. You turned loneliness into reflection. You turned suffering into strength. That is why heaven is stunned. Because transformation is the rarest power a human can possess. Many people repeat cycles. Hurt people hurt people. Pain spreads like wildfire through generations. But chosen ones break cycles. They stop patterns that existed long before they were born. You may be the first in your family to think differently, the first to question harmful traditions, the first to seek healing instead of revenge. And that kind of courage is not loud. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. There will still be days when doubt visits you, days when memories resurface, days when loneliness returns like an old shadow. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are human, carrying a story that demanded strength before comfort. But remember this truth. Every time you chose kindness instead of hatred, you shifted your destiny. Every time you stayed honest when lies surrounded you, you strengthened your spirit. Every time you forgave, even silently, you freed yourself from chains meant to hold you down. You were never meant to be ordinary, not because you are better than others, but because your path requires courage others may never need to develop. Your empathy, your awareness, your resilience, these are not accidents. They are tools placed inside you long before you understood their purpose. And one day, the very things that made you feel different will become the reasons others seek your guidance. People then listen closely, because the journey of a chosen one does not end with survival. That was only the beginning. What comes after survival is awakening. There is a stage in your life where the noise around you starts to feel unbearable, not because the world became louder, but because your inner voice finally began to speak. And when that voice awakens, it starts asking questions that cannot be ignored. Why did certain people enter your life only to betray you? Why did you feel alone even in crowded rooms? Why did your heart always search for something deeper, something real? These questions are not signs of confusion. They are signals of awakening. Chosen ones often reach a point where they can no longer pretend. The masks they once wore to fit in begin to feel suffocating. The roles they played to please others start to feel dishonest. And suddenly, everything that once felt normal begins to feel empty. You may have walked away from places you once loved. You may have distanced yourself from people you once trusted. You may have outgrown environments that once felt safe, not because you became cold, but because you became aware. Awareness changes everything. It makes you see intentions behind smiles. It makes you hear truth behind silence. It makes you feel energy beyond words. And that level of awareness can feel isolating at first. There will be moments when you wonder if something is wrong with you, moments when you wish you could go back to being unaware, back to being comfortable in ignorance. But once your eyes open, they never fully close again. This is where many chosen ones face their greatest internal battle, not with others, but with themselves. There will be nights when memories replay like echoes in an empty room, faces from the past, words that wounded you, moments that shaped your fears. And in those moments, the temptation to grow bitter will whisper again. Why not become like them? Why not return the pain? Why not make the world feel what you felt? But deep inside, there is another voice, a quieter voice, a stronger voice, one that reminds you that your power was never meant to destroy, but to transform. Transformation is painful, not the loud kind of pain, but the silent kind, the kind where you shed old versions of yourself without anyone noticing, the kind where you outgrow anger, even when anger feels justified, the kind where forgiveness becomes your freedom, not their reward. Chosen ones often carry scars that no one else can see. They smile while carrying memories that would break others. They walk forward while holding weight that no one else understands. They keep showing kindness, even after kindness was never shown to them. That is why your existence confuses people. Some will admire you. Some will envy you. Some will misunderstand you completely, because your strength reminds them of what they abandoned within themselves. There will also be moments when your path feels lonely beyond words, when it feels like no one truly understands your thoughts, when conversations feel shallow and connections feel temporary. But loneliness is not always punishment. Sometimes, loneliness is protection. It removes distractions. It reveals truth. It forces you to build a relationship with yourself. And that relationship becomes your greatest foundation. When you learn to sit with your own thoughts, to face your own wounds, to listen to your own intuition, something powerful happens. You stop seeking validation from the outside world. You stop chasing approval from people who never saw your worth. You begin trusting yourself. That trust is sacred, because once a chosen one learns to trust their inner voice, manipulation loses its power. Fear loses its grip. Doubt loses its authority. And suddenly the same world that once felt hostile begins to feel manageable. Not because it changed, but because you did. There is also a hidden gift inside your journey that many people overlook: empathy. Chosen ones feel deeply because they were forced to understand pain early in life. They recognize suffering in others because they have lived through it themselves. They sense emotions that others ignore. They comfort people without even trying. You may have noticed this in your own life. Strangers opening up to you without explanation. People trusting you with secrets they hide from others. Friends seeking your advice when their world feels unstable. This is not coincidence. It is evidence of your depth. Pain carved space inside your heart, and that space became compassion. But remember, compassion does not mean self-sacrifice. One of the final lessons chosen ones must learn is boundaries. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves your trust. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. Some people will only return when they need something. Some will praise you when it benefits them, and disappear when it doesn't. Some will mistake your kindness for weakness, until your silence teaches them otherwise. And silence can be powerful. There comes a time when chosen ones stop explaining themselves, stop defending their truth, stop seeking approval from those committed to misunderstanding them. They become calm, focused, unshakable, not cold, but centered. That is when your true power begins to reveal itself, not through loud achievements, but through quiet resilience, through the way you carry yourself after everything you endured, through the way you continue to believe in goodness, even after witnessing cruelty. That belief alone is revolutionary, because the world expects broken people to break others. But you broke the pattern. You ended cycles that ran through generations. You chose healing where others chose harm. You chose reflection where others chose reaction, and heaven watches that choice with awe, not because you're perfect, but because you refused to surrender your soul to darkness. There will still be storms ahead, moments that test your patience, situations that challenge your peace, but now, you are no longer the person who entered the storm unprepared. You carry wisdom, wisdom built from scars, wisdom built from survival, wisdom built from choosing light when darkness felt easier.